Nathan and Roman, they got the game. Customer success is their claim to fame. On the podcast, they light the spark, elevating your skills, creating a mark. Let's dive deeper into the playbook, the secrets they share. No need to look from onboarding to retention. They've got it all, success is the goal, gonna stand tall. With each episode, they share.
Welcome to the Customer Success Playbook Podcast, where we bring you the latest insights and expertise from top leaders in the field of customer success. I'm your host, Roman Trebon, and with me as always, my co-host, Kevin Metzger. Kev, we're getting to the end of June. It's getting hot here in Atlanta.
Yeah, first day of summer. Definitely a hot day. I heard somewhere on the news we're expecting like 6 weeks of continuous heat.
Yeah, the groundhog's going to be its whole if it's 6 more weeks of 95 degree weather here in Atlanta. So, well, Kev, we got a great episode lined up. You were out at the Pulse conference and you came across some software called TheLoops, which is an AI-driven intelligent support operations platform. And you said, hey, we got to get the guy behind this on the show. You want to kind of introduce the software and who we have on today?
Yeah, so we've got Ravi Bulusu, who's the co-founder and CTO of TheLoops. Ravi, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got started with TheLoops?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice meeting all of you, and very happy to be here. Yeah, my name is Ravi Bulusu. I'm the CTO co-founder of TheLoops. Prior to this, I've been in this industry for about 25 years. I've done more than 5 startups. 3 of them have successful exits. The last one's still going on. And this is something that we started 4 years ago, fundamentally realizing that there's a lot of AI ML that's missing within the support stack, right? And we wanted to be the layer on top of your ticketing system that provides you with that AI layer. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's for agents, for the managers, whether it's for your analytics. We want to be that AI layer on top of your support platforms. And that's the goal. And that's what we started the system for. I have about 27 patents in and around this technology. And that's a brief introduction of myself.
Thanks, Ravi. So let's go ahead and get into the loops a little bit. How do you get the data into the systems, and then how are you using the data? What kind of information am I able to get out of the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at any support system right now, take it, Salesforce Service Cloud, Zendesk, Freshdesk, most of these platforms, they're fundamentally designed to solve cases, right? And they're designed for agents to go through a list of cases, interact with the customer, respond back to cases and things like that, right? What they're not designed for is to be this data, the data layer that basically gets your CRM data, your escalation data, your usage data. And all these different data are really important for agents to resolve the problem, because it's not always going to be, how can I do something? So I did something in your application that resulted in this particular problem. Immediately, what are you going to look for? You're going to look for, is there an application crash in the system, right? So obviously, every support agent has like 10 tabs open within their console to basically look for Splunk queries, look for common cases that happened in the past, look for Jira escalations that are happening, right? That's the problem that we look for whenever we saw people or agents resolve problems. And that was the idea behind saying that in order to solve customer issues, you need data. And most of these support systems, the agent monitoring systems, are not built up to be integration platforms. They're built up to be applications, right? We always believe that there are 2 fundamental stacks. One is system of records and system of intelligence, right? They're 2 different architectures. One is an aggregate system. The other one is an transactional system, right? So we are the aggregated, we are the intelligence layer on top of, that's what we wanted to build. And that's where the loops came about to be.
So, Ravi, with that analytics insight layer, is it just giving you information on what's happening and where there's areas of opportunity within the support structure process? Is it also sort of directing action? Like, is it going down to the agent and telling them to do something different, So where does it kind of fit in, and how does it play with the different rules that people would touch it?
Absolutely. So if you look at support platforms right now, support organizations, there are 2 fundamental roles within it. One is an agent solving the cases, right? Then you have managers who are looking at an overall picture of where are the cases coming from, right? Why is there a case uptick, or this particular feature giving more cases than the other feature, right? Why is some location having more cases than the other? These are the things that on an aggregate level, managers observe, right? We cater for both these roles, right? From an agent perspective, if you look at every agent, what they do on a case by case basis, as soon as the case comes in, they're basically saying, oh, is it a repeat issue? Is other customers facing this particular problem? Have somebody else resolved this particular problem for me before, right? All these things are something that's already there within your case system. What Loops does, and again, most of the case intelligence systems do, is to basically crunch all that information for you, provide the agent with necessary details about, okay, this is when it happened before, this is how agents have resolved it in the past. And by the way, I always also found a knowledge article that you can share with the customer all within one panel, right? All the agent does is click, response back to the customer, right? What does it do? It helps the agent focus on the customer's problem, not gathering data, right? And the agent is focused on addressing the customer's problem and being that empathetic human touch, right? Rather than being this data operator while actually trying to resolve the particular problem, right? That's what they do for on a manager level, you're trying to look for that next escalation, right? Which is the next customer that's going to blow up, right? And this means a lot of data crunching, trying to look for hundreds of customers, right? All these cases, trying to find where sentiment is wrong and things like that. And Loops tells you that these are the top 10 customers at risk, right? And again, these are all data crunching operations, machine learning on top of it gives you that kind of an insight. And all these are actionable, right? This is an escalation. How can you resolve it, right? Oh, by the way, assign it to a different agent or respond back to the customer. Get on a call with the customer, right? So that the managers can take it to the next step as well.
Yeah.
So how are you being able to take all the data from various systems and basically bring it together to make sure you're looking at it in a way that makes sense? In other words, I've got CRM information from Salesforce, and then I've got issues coming in through ServiceNow, and I've got maybe some Slack data coming in from my teams. How are you able to look at it and say, hey, I know these data is related to each other, to be able to surface that to the agent?
Yeah, this is something that support organizations used to do before Loops as well, right? And the way you used to do this is because you have disparate systems, right? They used to put all this into a data cloud, right? Data warehouse, like Snowflake or one of these things, and then try to join these things and try to construct some kind of a report out of these things. The problem with this is most of these things are not that real time, right? And then the second problem was, how does the agent query the system, right, when he's trying to look for a case or a customer, right? That's why we said that those systems are good for offline analytics, right? They're not good for real-time insights, right? And that's the fundamental difference between our architecture versus what Snowflake or these data clouds, data warehouses can do, right? What we do is create a customer graph, right? So any case that comes in, right, we exactly know who the customer is. We exactly know what the customer did, how many open cases that the customer has, how many escalations that the customer has. We know what are the related cases with this particular case, right? Are there any of those escalations? So what we created is what we call it as a customer interaction graph, right? Customer engagement graph, right? That graph lets us not only join things or stitch things together very fast as the data is coming in, but also at a very real time, query the graph in order to provide those insights at real time, right, to agents as and when they need it. And it can happen in Slack, it can happen in Jira, it can happen in Zendesk, right? Each of these three roles are very different, right? Zendesk are where agents are looking at, right? Jira is where engineering systems are looking at, and Slack is where experts are, right? But all three of them get a completely different view of the graph, right? Very contextual to their own insights that they really want. But it's using the same underlying customer engagement graph to provide all these insights.
So, Ravi, I work with a lot of customers in customer support, and they're all saying the same thing to us right now. Get it out, right? Like, I want a chat bot, I want to call the phone channel, and I want the intelligent agent to help self-service before it even gets to someone. How is the Loops helping to sort of funnel those technologies and helping even avoid a case coming in, or better educating the customer before they have to hit an actual agent?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the journey of AI within customer support, right? So you have front-end chatbots, which are particularly deflection agents, right? They help you not to create a ticket, right? They help you with deflection, right? Now, I've done this in the past. My previous company was something that we did chatbots for. But if you look at it, I mean, in most of the companies, we could not achieve more than 17 to 18%, 17 to 20% of deflections. Fundamentally, because if you don't have knowledge, right, you don't have any deflections, right? And knowledge is, again, you can do a complete podcast on that, like how inefficient knowledge systems are, right? So what happened is that all the simpler cases that used to come to agents are now handled by chatbots. Those are the 20% of the cases. Now, what agents are ending up with is very highly complicated cases, right? Which are not like a one-click thing that you can do. This is where the agent needs help right now. L1 agents who are initially equipped to solve the chatbot-related problems are now solving higher complicated problems, which means that they need to access data. And what we found out that they're not trained to access all these different systems. They're not trained to go into a Splunk query or a Datadog search or a lookup on a CRM system. That's where Loop helps you identify all that data and then bring you to the right panel saying, okay, you don't have to worry about all those things. All that information is right here, right? That's where it helps. And again, I think chatbots have a place in the organization, but they're not yet there to solve 100% of your problems.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
When you're looking at the AI agents here, and you got your AI agent Copilot, how are you ensuring that you're delivering accurate information through the Copilot to the agents and making sure that you're driving accurate information?
Yeah, there is two aspects of it if you look at Copilots. And fundamentally, when we say Copilot, it's a very new concept, right? And even Microsoft and everybody else trying to educate people of what a Copilot really means or what it should be doing. I've talked to many of the industry, people who are managing customer support at a very high level, and I say, what is your what a Copilot should do, right? And fundamentally, they talk about three things, right? The Copilot should help the agent respond to customers, right? It should help the agent understand the resolution journey, right? What is the next step that they need to do within the whole resolution journey of the process? The third thing it should basically do is to help you with the cleanup of your ticketing system. Like, okay, is there a feature request? How do you share information from your support system to other departments, right? There is a documentation request that's coming in. This could become a feature request within product, right? It should help them do those aspects of it, right? Those are the three aspects of Copilot, right? Now, Copilots are as effective as your knowledge within the system, right? And every system right now, including Loops, treats two things as knowledge. One is your KB articles, right? The second is your resolutions that your agents have provided in the past, right? And both of these two things, what we figured out is, yes, you have 1,000 knowledge articles, but are they even relevant to what people are asking for right now? Maybe you have to update your knowledge documents. And how do you even know that, right? So the first thing when we go to any customer to deploy, right, the first thing we tell you is, okay, let's look at your data, right? And let's kind of figure out historically, right, from your past 1 year of cases, how many of your cases can even be resolved with your current knowledge that you have, right? And trust me, I mean, we have not seen more than 30%, right? 30% is the upper limit that we've seen, which means that 70% of your cases cannot even be resolved with the kind of knowledge or information that you have, both in your cases as well as KB articles. Many organizations don't have a way to capture how the agent resolved the particular problem. If you don't capture how the agent resolved the problem, your cases are pretty much useless, right? And there's no information or intelligence that you're gathering with every ticket closure. How do you help that? Auto QA, right? People always think that auto QA is completely a different department and it should be basically something that worries about CSAT. Actually, no. Auto QA helps you build your intelligence within your support data, right? And the way we do that, we recommend the customer is saying that, okay, why do you have an auto QA? Have a rubric within your system. Rubric is something that we evaluate at the end of a ticket closure, saying, did the agent provide the resolution steps? Did the agent provide proper resolution to the customer, right? And these things could be something that an intelligence system can verify and then tell when you're doing the coaching with your agent, saying that, look, at 30% of the cases, you've not even provided any resolution notes, right? But you're not helping the system be intelligent, right? So that training, that coaching, right, will help them put those resolution notes, will help your system become more effective, right? And all this is something that an intelligent system could do, right? And that's what Loops does. First thing that we do is we basically tell you, yes, you have 100,000 cases, but only 10% of them have resolutions that we can use. Yes, you have 1,000 knowledge articles, but only 30% of them are even useful, right? But here's the gap, and here's how you can fill them, right? And that's the approach that you have to take with them. That's what makes your Copilot go from, oh, I can help you with 20% of the cases to I can help you with 80% of the cases, right? And that's a journey, right? And all organizations are starting this journey very small right now. But fundamentally, what, one of my, gurus that I believe, he always said that your system, when it comes into the organization, can be 15% intelligent, right? But at the day 100, if it is not 30% or 40% intelligent, it's not going to improve, right? And that's that's how we identify a rule-based system versus an AI system, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. It's basically making the resolution repeatable and reproducible through having, like you said, like so many you're not even getting. There's not even a support knowledge base or whatever it may be. And so, Ravi, what is it like from an onboarding experience? What does that journey look like? I'm sure there's probably a lot of use cases. So, how do you get clients to start small, get value, and then build? And then what does that kind of walk us through that?
Absolutely. So Loops has fundamentally three product lines, right? One is you have your Copilot, right? Then you have Predictive Operations Center, then you have your Auto QA, right? We have different onboardings for each of them. You have the Loops platform that I think any AI system should basically be integrating with your support systems, integrating with your CRM systems, integrating with your escalation management systems. Once you do that, that usually takes us like 2 weeks. And then there's a data validation part of it, which is absolutely important for any AI system to make sure that the data that you're basing your intelligence on is clean. Right? We spend 2 weeks on that. Once you do that, then we onboard all these different use cases. Copilot takes about 4 weeks to onboard. Okay. Then you have Auto QA, which is a little bit faster if you have a rubric that's already in place. That's another 2 weeks. You have backlog management, escalation management, CSAT prediction, topic analysis, trend analysis, intelligent routing, automating the operation center. It can take anytime between 2 to 4 weeks to onboard most of these use cases. So we give customers anytime between 3 to 6 weeks is where you can onboard multiple use cases within.
Gotcha. Are you also doing anything within the loops to provide feedback to the product teams and product management? So you've got all this great data that you collected from a support perspective. It seems like there's a huge opportunity as well to kind of go towards bringing this information back to product management, bringing it into the CS organization to help understand where your customer is from, like you said with the CSAT. But do you have paths for that as well?
Support is a goldmine of data where customers come to you. This is the only organization where customers are more interested in reaching to you rather than the other way around, right? Obviously, they leave a lot of information, and unfortunately or fortunately, agents are very focused on resolving the problem and ignoring the noise. But the noise has goldmine of data in it, right? It has feature requests that can help the product team kind of build the next set of features. It might have bugs or performance issues that engineering team should look for to prioritize these particular problems. How do you generate a document out of this thing so that somebody else can leverage that document? And all these things are lost in traditional support environment. So what we have realized is that you can offset this to the agent to basically say, okay, why don't you create a knowledge document out of it and then you resolve the problem? But they're not incentivized for that. They're incentivized to solve more cases, right? They're not incentivized to provide that shared data to other departments within your organization. But the VP of customer support, yes, they are absolutely responsible for collecting this data, deriving insights out of this data, providing this nuggets of information to all these three departments, right? Now, how do you make it easier, right? So that's why we came up with this whole concept of topics, right? And topics for us are your product features, your product services, all the different areas of product where you have cases coming in, right? And then you have this intelligence that you can derive, right? With generative AI, make it even more easier to basically look at all this data and then say that, okay, I need to generate a couple of documentation requests from the authentication topic or reporting module, right? And once you do that, and then we give you a very easy way to go to navigate to this page and then click and generate this documents. But KCS itself is its own process engine, right? So when we create documents or when we generate documents, we always write it into KCS system, but mark it as generated by the loops and in a draft mode. So somebody can actually go and review them before publishing to an external agency. And we integrate with most of the KCS processes that companies have right now. And even product, like feature requests and stuff like that, we do flag whenever we see feature requests that customers are asking for. And we write that into product boards as well. So we have integrations into Asana, we have integrations into Monday.com, as well as, Jira, obviously, right, Atlassian and stuff like that. So we can automate this whole process for you.
Yeah. Which is great because, right, like if you're a support organization, you're not driving the issues. Like people aren't calling, like they're calling because it's a product issue, some issue that got driven that your way. And then, so it sounds like the loops is not only helping you be more efficient when you have tickets and cases, right, but then hopefully driving some intel and driving some of those tickets out in the future with your product team and others across the organization. Yeah. So I love Ravi on the site. Our audience, if you haven't gone to the site, you got to check out the loops. I love your ROI calculator on there, which is awesome. It has slide bars. It's super easy to use. So a good sense of how the value this can provide. On that front, I'm sure this works amazingly. The more scale you have, the more tickets, the more, But what was is there a minimum? What's like the sweet spot before you start to see some of the value from a loop solution? I think I saw, was it 25? Did I remember that right, Robbie? What's the minimum number typically to get this off the ground?
So different use cases have different thresholds. Right? We say that, even if you have like 5 agents and a QA manager, loops can provide you value. But what we say is that in order for the AI to learn, you need at least like 20,000 cases, at least in the last 3 months, right? That gives you enough variability, enough repeatability that we can see that the models can learn. If you have less than that, then probably you're not ready for an AI solution. So that's something that you have to keep in mind.
So, Ravi, along those lines, when you're talking about the amount of data you need, what does the technology stack for the loops look like? I realize it's a SaaS kind of offering, but it's underneath the covers.
So I think there's two fundamental stacks here, right? One is the data processing stack itself, right? So we have our own connector framework, right? And a lot of companies actually don't build a connector framework right now. They outsource it or they OEM some of the other tools. We made a conscious decision to build one because we knew that it has to be bidirectional. Support is not a unidirectional thing. If you have insight and you can't write it back into a system of record, if you can't have the our manager take action on it, it's useless, right? So we went and built the connector framework that's completely proprietary. We have about 50 plus connectors right now, spawning across 12 or 13 categories of data. And then everything that comes into, we have a SaaS platform that we host right now, both in EU and US, on both GCP and AWS, because some customers have their own preference, and we want to make sure that we provide them with whatever they want. The stack is pretty straightforward. You have Kafka, and then you have a database and other type of data stores that we have in the system. We have a graph database, we have a vector database, we have obviously a SQL database in the system. All the tenants are partitioned. There's no commonality that there's a common database that we use across tenants and stuff like that. On the AI stack, we have 3 fundamental architectures within AI. One is what we call a generative or conversational reasoning framework. This is what we use our own custom LLM model, right, to do conversational reasoning. Then we have a predictive operations platform, which is a predictive operations library, doing escalation prediction and a lot of these traditional ML models that we use. And then we have what we call a conversational engine, where you don't have to create dashboards. You can just come and talk to the system, and then we'll create those dashboards for you. Right now, we're using GPT-4. It's a generative model that we go for GPT-4 at that time.
Very cool. And you said you have your own AI, your own LLM for looking at support type tickets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are specifically trained to look for signals within support that could be signs of frustration, signs of a feature request coming in, signs of a documentation request that's not been able to answer, right? Again, can you use GPT-4 for it? Yes, you can write a prompt to do GPT-4, but the problem with GPT-4 is it takes a long time. And depending on the prompt and the amount of data, there is no guarantee that it will finish in under a second, right? For us, it's very important to be real time, right? Because as the case comes in, we take a lot of real time decisions, including who to route the case to, based on language, based on availability, based on a lot of different factors around the topic. So we have to be very, very fast. And that's one of the primary reasons why we've trained our own LLM. We host it within our environment, right? It's also secure, that your data is not going to GPT-4 and things like that. So we give them all the security governance on top of it as well. But this model is not only secure, and it's also traditionally for very support specific insights that we derive out of the LLM.
So, Robbie, you're obviously neck deep in AI. I'm fascinated by this. So, just from all the stuff you have in place with AI, like, where do you see this in 5 years? Like, where do you see, especially in customer support and operation, like where is AI going to take us? Because it seems like it's going so fast. Just curious, you're on the front lines of it. Where do you kind of see the technology heading?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a year since GPT came out, and most of us in this space kind of knew and we're following this for a long time, and we knew that something like this was possible, but GPT kind of made it generally available for everybody to use, right? I'm more surprised with the amount of adoption that GPT had in the last 1 year, and the amount of industries that are leveraging it. Some of them are leveraging beyond its means, but it doesn't matter. Once the pendulum sinks, it always sinks to the other end, right? It'll settle down at some point of time. There is a real chance that a lot of what support does can be automated, can be done by support agents in the future, right?
Yeah.
The piece of the puzzle that you really need to solve is the data, right? And people always ignore that fact. The more the case becomes complex, the more data gets involved. And if you don't have the data, the right cleanliness, the right format, the right way to access it and efficiently, that creates a problem. I don't believe that a traditional data warehouse is the answer for this, or a traditional graph database is the answer for this. It's a combination of these two. And that's a problem that needs to be solved, and how AI can access data really efficiently in order to make those decisions faster. And I'm sure that people will come up with those technologies. And I think that automated support to almost like an 80 to 90% is really possible in the next 5 years. And I'm sure there are a lot of companies working on it at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, beginning of the show, 20% with chatbots, right? Imagine that getting up to 80%, right? They can handle those complex issues that today you have to go to an agent, right?
I think it's always going to be augmented, right? Right now, let's say an agent, when they even look at complex cases, they're doing 80% of the work, and maybe intelligence or even copilots are giving them that feedback, about 20-30% feedback on how to get there, right? That ratio is going to change. That ratio is going to be, the AI is going to be do 80% of the work, but it will still need that 20% of human input. And it's going to become very efficient to basically say, when do I reach to an agent, or when do I reach to a human for help and decision making, right? That is where AI should be. It should always interface with the human for real decision making, right?
Yeah.
But automate most of the things that are data related, right? And that's where it's going to happen in the next 5 years.
It's awesome. All right, Kev, we ready to get to these hard questions here?
Yeah, I think it's time to hit the real hard stuff.
Oh boy.
All right, we'll go back and forth here, Ravi. Early bird or night owl?
Both. And then I would say early bird is the answer right now, as age is catching up.
Right now. I love it.
Yeah. That's me too. As I got older, I've gotten early. I used to be a night owl. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book was I've not read books for a long time, and it's been mostly knowledge articles from GPT. But yeah, let's skip that question.
Let's go with most influential knowledge article that you've recently read.
The most influential one was, there's an article on how people created GPT, the transformation from an AI model all the way to the generative AI model, and how the journey of that thing has been. And again, it's been interesting for me because I've been observing this transition happen. I've been using technologies as it was evolving, right? The day from intent detection 10 years back to wireless CM models, transformers and everything else. I've been using this in phases, and when GPT came out, observing the whole transition and my journey along with it was really really interesting.
Place you'd want to travel that you've never been?
Alaska.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I would really like to.
That'd be awesome.
Very nice. All right, I think this is the last one. What's something on your bucket list that you'd like to achieve? Next list.
I'm really afraid of heights, but I've promised that we exit and we'll do a skydiving. And that's a nightmare, but I would like to conquer that.
Yeah, Rob, you're a lunatic, man. I don't know how you do it. I'm super scared of heights. Like, man, if you do it, let me know. I got to see a video or something. All right.
Yeah.
Ravi, where can our audience find more about the loops? You find out more information.
Well, the loops.io is where everything is. Reach out to us. There's obviously information about security. There's information about what's coming next. There's always emails and forms that you can fill us. There's a form that you can fill to watch the videos, as well as get a live demo from us. I'm very excited to show the product and what we've been doing for so far.
Yeah, it's awesome. Definitely check out this the site. Ravi, thanks so much for joining us. And everyone, thanks for listening. Please follow us on LinkedIn at Roman Trebon, at Kevin Metzger. Check out the Customer Success Playbook Podcast page on LinkedIn. Like our show, subscribe, tell your friends about it, interact, let us know what other guests and topics you'd like us to have on. And as always, Kevin,
keep on playing.
Episode, they share their views, strategies and tactics that you can